I and I'm your host with the mostest. All right, so if you're joining us for the first time, you're welcome. You're welcome. This is where we talk about the Bible stories that we read. We follow a structured guide here in this book where we read an Old Testament reading, a New Testament reading, a Psalm, and a Proverb every single day. The idea is to read through the Bible in one entire year. And so all of these structures, guys, help us to go through the Bible systematically. Now, I've been doing this for 186 days. Technically, I have some days that I've skipped. I didn't start at the beginning of the year, and I didn't. I have some days that I skipped due to life happening. Anyway, I'll make up for all those days, and God willing, by the end of the year, December 31st, you would have covered every single book, chapter, and story in the Bible if you follow this podcast. Thank you for all the people who have subscribed and those who follow the live videos and then those who catch the replays. You're welcome. So I'm doing this because I want to get to know God for myself. I want to test the theories in the Bible uh, and principles. I also want to discard ideas and stories that have been floating for years that have no substance or basis really in scripture. And I want to, so I'll tell you one of the things that I tested that I have discarded. So I want to discard what I do not want, and I want to draw my own interpretations. If I do this, it's okay if you don't agree with my interpretation. You go read it for yourself and then draw your own conclusion, because I believe God will speak to any one of us. All right? That said, today is day 186 and we're making great progress. And we're done with the book of Kings. Yesterday was a grim day. It was so grim and so long, I had to break it up into two parts just to be able to share and capture how terrible it was when Jerusalem was lost. I don't know if they ever came back again the way that's whole era. Exactly. But we'll be reading the Bible to see if there's any time things came back together for Jerusalem before the time of Jesus. That said, we are finally in the book of Chronicles. All the stories now chronicling everything that has happened, how they were captured, and all of that. That's what's captured in the book of Chronicles. So today we're looking at Chronicles 1 and 2. We're looking at Acts 23, chapters 23. We're finishing chapters 23. And we're looking at Proverbs 14, Proverbs 18, 14, and 15. For those who don't know, we had rounded the book of Psalms 2-3 days ago, and I will not be continuing. So if you want to listen to any of the scriptures we read, you have to look at the earlier episodes. That said, thank you everyone for joining me. Whoever is watching there, say something in the comments. So basically, the Old Testament today is just trying to capture the genealogy all through the people that made a difference in Israel. Before, I thought it was everybody that was captured, but now I see that there were specific names. There were so many names. I didn't bother to write anything, jot anything down, or take even serious notes of the name. They just selected a few. So basically, this is tracing their ancestry to Adam, the first official man, right through to David, right through to David. All right, so the ancestry from Adam is traced. So Adam and all of the people in between Adam to Noah. Noah was the guy who entered the big boat, and there was a flood that eliminated many people except those people in the boat, right? Then there were Shem. The sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons. So there were other people in the boat, maybe people that were working with them, people who assisted them to keep the animals in the boat, in the huge ark. They were not listed, but I know that they were not the only 3 people who survived. They also had wives and stuff. And then all the way, but then they tried to tell us the genealogy from those people. So Japheth, who is the first son, had Magog and Co. Magog was a popular name in the back in the day. Then Ham, the second, was he the second son, had Cush, which Cush is referred to as the arm of Africa, like African arm. Cush covers Ethiopia, Egypt, and other parts of Africa. But basically, that Ham line is what developed into what became known as the dark-skinned people. So Cush had Nimrod. Nimrod was like the first major warrior in his time. He was the one who was very, at the time of Babel, Nimrod was like a cool king, but he was misbehaving very badly. Then Philistines came out of this line. Jebusites, the people who originally owned Jerusalem, came out of this line. Edomites were also sprung out of this line. Sorry, no. Sidon, like Tyre and Sidon, the Sidon arm of Tyre came out of this line, and even Canaan, the original Canaanites came out of Ham's line. So something tells me they were like olive skinned, dark skinned people who came out of Ham. Then we have Shem. Shem, it was Shem that produced Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and that whole line all the way. So under Shem, there was Isaac and Abraham and Isaac, Jacob. There was Ishmael. Then they skipped that. Then there was Keturah. Keturah was the wife that Abraham took after Sarah had passed on. She had 6 sons. Nothing really major was said about them besides listing their sons. Okay. Then we had Isaac. Sire and Edom also came out of this line because Sire and Edom came out of Esau, the son, the twin brother of Jacob. And then, of course, Jacob became Israel. Israel had 12 sons from 2 wives and 2 concubines. And that line, that was the line that developed into Judah. Judah was his fourth son. And then Judah eventually produced David. So that's the summary of the Old Testament for today, which I'm happy about because in 6 minutes we've gotten that out of the way. The Old Testament can be very interesting, lots of stories, but I'm happy we're done with that today. So our New Testament is Acts 23:11-35. So Paul, remember that there was a whole lot of drama yesterday, right? Yes, Paul, the garrison commander, the slapping of Paul telling them that God will slap them, and all the drama. Yes. Anyway, when Paul was alone, God told him, I'm pleased with you. I'm pleased with how you defended me. God probably knew that it was only a person like Paul that could stand up to some of these people. The Peter and Co had their own strengths and quirks, but they were not as strong. Paul appeared to be able to stand up to the Gentiles and the leadership of the Jewish community, maybe because he was also a Pharisee as well. He was educated and trained and a lawyer and judged people, so he could stand up to them on that level, something that the fishermen were struggling to do. Anyway, God said, you've testified of me in Jerusalem, now you're going to testify of me in Rome. Of course, that the very next day, some Jews decided to take an oath, 42 of them, that they swore, we're not going to eat or do anything else until Paul is killed. So they go to the high priest and they say, we understand that you guys had some fracas yesterday, that guy needs to go. So we're going to, you guys send for him and say you are willing to have a conversation with Paul and settle your things privately, since it's not really a Roman issue, it's a private religious issue. But when you guys are settling with him, before he gets to you, we are going to waylay him and kill him. But Paul's nephew happened to be there when this plan was being made. He now goes to Paul and tells Paul. Paul calls the commander and says, please repeat what you just said to me. And then the nephew narrates that, there are these 42 guys, they said they're going to kill Paul, and they're going to wait and waylay Paul when he's being transported back to the Jewish council to settle their issues. Because it's very clear to the garrison commander that the matters that they are presenting before him are not any serious matters of state. They are serious matters of their religious laws or whatever. Anyway, when that happens, the commander says, are you sure that it's just these religious laws they have against you? This amount of hostility and animosity, there has to be something deeper than that. Paul is like, you heard us yesterday. I'm telling you, it's about my belief in the resurrection of the body, about a man known as Jesus. So all of this, of course, he didn't say that there, but I'm pretty sure that that was it. So anytime I share my stories, so let me just pause here on the story. I try to dramatize or at least give some depth to the stories by my own interpretation. All right. So now let's get back to the story. So anyway, the commander feels this is serious, and I have to lead Paul safely to Felix, the governor. This is beyond me at this point. So he arranges for 200 men, 200 soldiers, 200 slingshot. Is it sling? spearmen, men who have spears. That's 400 men now, and 70 horsemen, probably men who ride horses, to accompany Paul to Felix the governor. Now talk about high profile, high profile prisoner. Talk about a high profile prisoner. Anyway, I think it was God's way of preserving Paul, because if Paul was roaming about the streets in Rome, I mean, Paul had just been around like 3-4 days before all of this drama started. Anyway, he was taken to Felix along with a letter. In that letter, he was taken to Felix along with a letter, and along with two centurions, of course, each of them commanding each of the 100 soldiers. So he says, this man was about to be killed by the Jews. I wanted to know what the reason was, so I brought the council to speak with him. It turns out that it's about their law, and nothing really deserving of death. We have discovered that 42 people have sworn an oath to kill him, so I thought to send him over to you. Maybe you'll be able to investigate the matter better than I'm doing. So, because it's really not a matter of the state. Anyway, they took Paul, they arrived at Antipatris and dropped him off with Governor Felix. Governor Felix is like, he reads the letter and he says, what's really going on with you? He says, well, it says, all right, so I'm not going to address the issue until the other party come. They've been invited. So once they've been invited, when they come, then we will address the issue. And that's how. Where are you from again? He says, I'm from Sicilia. It's like, oh, okay. Okay, we'll hear you when your accusers come. But for the meantime, just be detained in Herod's praetorium. And so that's where Paul was kept, in Herod's praetorium, given a good bed to sleep, a meal to eat, and safety around him, because people couldn't invade Herod's praetorium to harm him. I think all of that was God's plan. All right, so we're going to look at Proverbs 18. We're done with our book of Psalms. This is a short day. Proverbs 18. Proverbs 18, verses 14 and 15. Verses 14 and 15. I'm reading from King James Version of the Bible. The spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness, but who can carry a broken spirit? The heart of the prudent acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. Oh, this is so true. The spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness. And I currently am dealing with a sickness. I'm not really ready to talk about the condition, the specific condition as such. But I know that once I confronted the illness, and then I went to the meds and to the hospital, and then treatment started, my spirit was lifted up. In my church this year, the theme of the year is joy and gratitude. So I decided to really lean into that joy and gratitude theme, so that I can be uplifted and my spirit can remain strong as I'm going through and waiting for God to heal me through this sickness. And this is such a through. I normally don't give commentary on but this is a short version, so I thought a short session today. So I thought to say something about it. If you find yourself terribly ill, one of the things that would sustain you is an uplifted spirit. And how do you uplift your spirit? Do the things that you love. Do find things that you really love that keep you happy and do them. I had to leave a place that I was not happy, and because the sickness, I'm convinced without reasonable, I'm convinced that if I stayed there I would be dead by now. So remove yourself from the place of aggression if you can. Then focus on the things that you really love, to things that keep you happy, things you can do for free. And even if you are not paid, you'll be happy doing them. Find those things that you can do to keep your spirit uplifted. And find people whose company you really love and enjoy. They keep your spirit lifted. They can see you through a time of sickness. Alright, so that ends our session for today. It's a short one today, and I'm glad that you were able to join. I see some people joining in. So please subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification button so that you can know when next I go live. And thank you for joining today. I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you share this with someone that you think may be interested in reading through the Bible from cover to cover. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.